I want you to picture a scenario. It's pretty specific, but I have a feeling it's going to resonate with a lot of people. It's been, let's say, 3 or 4 months since you lost a partner, or maybe a parent, a sibling. The wound is still so fresh.
Right. You're still really in the thick of it.
Exactly. And you find yourself at some kind of family gathering, maybe it's a holiday, maybe just a dinner, and the air in the room is just heavy. Everyone's being polite, kind of tiptoeing around that empty chair at the table. Is that walking on eggshells vibe?
The classic don't mention the elephant in the room dynamic.
Precisely. But then someone breaks the seal. Someone brings up a story. And specifically, let's say it's that time your late partner tried to cook a really fancy anniversary dinner, Gordon Ramsay style, and ended up filling the entire kitchen with black smoke.
A total kitchen disaster. I can almost smell the burnt roast from here.
Right. And the memory is so vivid, it's so ridiculous, and it is so them that you can't help it. You chuckle. Maybe it starts as a smirk, but then it turns into this full-on wheezing belly laugh. And for 5 seconds, just 5 seconds, the room feels lighter. That crushing weight is gone.
It's a moment of pure release.
It is, but then
crash,
the wave just hits you.
Guilt.
It hits you like a freight train. You immediately catch yourself and think, oh my God, how can I be laughing? They're gone. Does this mean I'm forgetting them? Am I moving on too fast? Is this disrespectful?
And that specific tug of war, that kind of whiplash between a genuine laugh and immediate shame, is exactly what we're going to unpack today. It's that internal conflict between the body's natural impulse to find joy and that nagging critical voice asking if that joy is somehow a betrayal.
It's a heavy topic, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
But we're going to look at it through a really hopeful and, frankly, a scientifically validating lens today. We were doing a deep dive into an article by Oliver Remington titled Embracing Joy Amid Grief.
It's a really powerful piece of writing.
It really is.
Yeah.
And our mission for this deep dive is pretty simple, but I think profound. We want to figure out why those unexpected bursts of laughter aren't just okay, but while Remington argues they're actually essential fuel for healing.
Essential is the key word there. We're not just talking about, it's nice to have a laugh now and then. Remington and the psychologists he's citing are arguing that joy isn't a betrayal of the person you lost. It's actually a biological and psychological necessity. But to really get that, to really give ourselves permission to feel it, we first have to tear down the map we've all been given for how grief is supposed to look.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. The famous checklist.
The checklist, the 5 stages.
I feel like this framework is just burned into our cultural DNA. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. We're taught almost from childhood that grief is a straight line. You start at step 1, you march your way to step 5, and then poof, you're fixed. You graduate from grief school.
Right. And that linear model is probably the single most damaging misconception about grief that exists. The source material makes a really crucial distinction here that I think most people just miss. Kubler-Ross introduced those stages, yes, but she originally developed them to describe the experience of dying people coming to terms with their own terminal illness.
Wait, really? So it wasn't even for the people left behind in the first place?
Not originally, no. It was later adapted for bereavement, but she definitely never intended for them to be viewed as this rigid, linear progression. It's not a ladder you climb where you just leave the previous rung behind.
So it's not like a video game where you beat the anger level, fight the boss, and then you unlock the depression level.
Not at all. And thinking of it that way just sets us up for failure. Remington describes the actual reality of grief as a winding road. It has hills, it has valleys, loop-de-loops, and completely unexpected turns. You might skip stages entirely. You might cycle through all 5 in a single afternoon.
Which totally explains why you can be absolutely crushed by sadness on a Tuesday morning, like barely able to get out of bed, and then find yourself laughing at a meme or a funny memory by Tuesday afternoon.
Exactly. And the key takeaway here is the thing I really want you to hear, is that this unpredictability is not a sign that you are doing grief wrong. It's just a sign that you're human. The nonlinear nature of it is the reality. If we stop expecting a straight line, we can stop judging ourselves for all the curves.
That is such a relief to hear, honestly, because I think people feel like if they laugh, they've backslid. Like, oh no, I was doing so well at being sad, and now I've gone and messed it up.
It's such a dangerous mindset, because if you actively suppress that laughter because you think it's wrong, you're actually fighting your own biology. Your brain is working really hard to help you out in those moments.
Okay, let's dig into that. The biology of joy. Because when you're in deep grief, a laugh feels like a system error. It feels like a glitch in the matrix. But the source says it's actually a safety mechanism.
Yeah, think of it as a release valve. The brain is wired, above all else, to seek balance, what biologists call homeostasis. And grief, specifically deep sorrow, is incredibly taxing on your nervous system. It creates the state of hyperarousal and stress. Your body is just flooded with cortisol.
So you're basically redlining your emotional engine.
Exactly. And if you stayed in that state of high alert sorrow 24/7 without a break, you would reach a state of total emotional and physical burnout. The whole system would collapse.
So the laughter isn't minimizing the loss at all. It's just preventing the system from overheating.
Precisely. It's a reset. Remington notes that joy in this context is actually a marker of resilience. It signals that your mind and your body are adapting to the pain, finding ways to carry it without collapsing under the weight of it. It's your brain saying, okay, we need a quick break so we can keep going.
I love the imagery the source uses for this. It says it's not about replacing the sorrow. It's about letting both coexist, like sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm.
That coexistence is the absolute core concept here. You aren't swapping sadness for happiness. You're just expanding your emotional container to hold both at the same time. And there's hard data on this. The article references positive psychology research, which shows that people who allow themselves to experience positive emotions during bereavement actually have better long-term outcomes.
Better outcomes how? Like,
Yeah.
do they just get over it faster?
No, and let's be really clear, getting over it is rarely the goal when we lose someone we truly love. But they build more emotional strength, they
Yeah.
integrate the loss into their lives better, they even have better physical health outcomes.
Physical health.
Absolutely. Constant stress just destroys the immune system. Laughter, even brief moments of it, reduces cortisol and releases endorphins. So quite literally, allowing yourself to smile is a health intervention. It protects your heart, your digestion, your sleep.
That's wild. So it's not just emotional, it's physiological maintenance. But here's the thing that gets me. Knowing all the biology doesn't necessarily stop the guilt, does it? You can know logically that it's healthy to laugh, but you still feel like a jerk for doing it.
No, the data doesn't erase the feeling. Because the guilt isn't coming from biology, it's coming from sociology. It comes from all the scripts we've been handed.
Right, society, the movies, the classic Widow in Black.
Think about every movie funeral you've ever seen. What's the visual language?
It's always pouring rain. Even if it's set in Los Angeles, it's raining. Everyone is in black from head to toe. Heads are bowed. No one is speaking above a whisper.
Exactly. And if someone laughed in a movie funeral scene, who would they be? They'd be the villain or the disrespectful outcast, the person who didn't really care.
Totally. We have this cultural script that says, grief must look solemn to be real. If you're sad, you must perform sadness. So when we find ourselves enjoying a taco or laughing at a sitcom or just enjoying the sunshine on our face, we feel like we're breaking character.
We worry that other people are judging us. We project that judgment onto them. We think, if my neighbor sees me smiling, they'll think I'm over it. They'll think I didn't really love him.
And then there's the internal stuff, that survivor guilt that hits so much harder than the external judgment, I think.
It does. It's that why am I here question. Why do I get to taste this coffee when they can't? Why do I get to watch this new season of our favorite show? That is a profound source of guilt. It frames your own aliveness as a betrayal of their death.
It's just brutal. It's like you're apologizing for breathing. So how do we flip that script? Because that just sounds like a miserable way to live.
Well, the source suggests a really powerful reframe, and this takes some practice for sure, but it can change everything. Instead of viewing joy as a betrayal, you learn to view it as a tribute.
A tribute. That feels like a big leap. Unpack that for me.
Well, just look at the relationship you lost. Think about the person. If your loved one brought laughter into your life, if they were the one cracking jokes, or you shared adventures, or they just had a great loud laugh, then shutting down that part of yourself isn't honoring them.
It's actually suppressing the part of them that lives on inside you.
Exactly. You're shutting down the very thing they gave you. If I loved someone because they were hilarious and full of life, then me being miserable and silent forever doesn't really seem like the best way to honor their memory. It's almost like muting their legacy.
That's a really strong point. It's like you're so focused on honoring the death, but you're completely ignoring the life.
There's a beautiful quote referenced in the article from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and David Kessler. They write, "Grief is the price we pay for love."
I've heard that before. It's so hauntingly beautiful. It frames the pain as a kind of transaction for having had something great.
It is. But the expert addition here is crucial. If grief is the price of love, then joy is part of the package too. therapist Megan Devine, who wrote It's Okay That You're Not Okay, which is a fantastic book, by the way. She talks about grief, including the full spectrum of feelings. You don't have to shrink yourself down to just the sad person to prove you loved them. Love is big. It includes everything.
I think this lands best when we look at real people. The abstract psychology is great, but the article shares some stories from the field that really hit home for me because they just felt so messy and real.
Which one stood out to you?
The clown story. I just couldn't get this image out of my head.
Ah, yes, sir.
So Sarah's a widow in her 50s. She's at her husband's memorial service. It's very somber. Everyone's crying. And a friend gets up to the podium and tells this story about the husband dressing up as a clown for a kid's birthday party.
And not just dressing up, like total commitment.
Right. And apparently he had these giant oversized shoes on, and he tripped over his own feet and went face planting into the grass. You know, classic slapstick.
And the room just erupts.
Sarah laughs. She laughs loud. But then immediately that shame kicks in. She felt like she'd done something terribly wrong by laughing at his memorial, like she had just desecrated the moment.
But then she went to a support group. And what she realized there?
She realized she was celebrating his playful side. That laughter wasn't disrespect, it was remembering him accurately. He was the guy who would trip in clown shoes. To be all solemn would be to pretend he was someone else.
Exactly. It's about authenticity. If you sanitize the person to make them into some kind of saint, you lose the person. You lose the texture of who they actually were. And then there was Mike in the Hat. That one really got me.
Yeah, Mike. He lost his sister. And he's doing that terrible, terrible task of sorting through her belongings, which anyone who has done that knows is just a minefield of emotions. You're touching their clothes, smelling their perfume.
And he finds this silly hat.
A completely ridiculous hat that she used to wear, specifically to cheer him up whenever he was having a bad day.
And what happened?
He put it on. He's standing there in her room, all alone, wearing this goofy hat. And he stood there crying, tears streaming down his face. But he was giggling at the same time.
That is the perfect example of the coexistence concept we were talking about earlier. He wasn't happy or sad, he was both. The hat was like a bridge between his grief and her joy.
It's such a poignant image. And then there was Lena. This one was really cool. She was in a grief circle that did a session specifically on laughter memories.
I love that idea. Usually those circles are all about processing the trauma or the loneliness.
Right. But instead of just sharing the heavy stuff, the facilitator asked them to go around and share the funniest thing that happened with their person. The source says it turned the whole meeting from this heavy, dark space into something warm.
It shows that community can give us permission. Sometimes we need to see someone else laugh to know it's safe for us to do it too. It breaks the taboo. When you hear someone else laughing about their late husband's terrible cooking, it gives you permission to laugh about your late wife's terrible singing.
So let's say someone listening right now is nodding along. They're like, okay, I get it. I want to feel joy again. I want to honor my person with laughter, but I'm stuck. The guilt is too strong. The article gives us a toolkit. How do we actually invite joy back in without the guilt just slamming the door?
It starts internally. It has to start with self-compassion.
Which is so much easier said than done. Be kind to yourself is great advice that is very hard to follow. So how do you actually do self-compassion in that moment?
The practice is specific. It's about acknowledging the feeling without judgment. So when the guilt hits, instead of spiraling into, I'm a bad person, you literally say to yourself, I am feeling guilty right now, and that is okay. But this feeling does not define my love.
It doesn't define my love. That's a powerful affirmation. It separates the emotion from the truth of the relationship.
Exactly. It creates just a little bit of distance. Another internal tool is the perspective check.
Is this the what would they want question?
Yes. And you have to ask it sincerely. Close your eyes, really imagine them, and ask, would my partner or my mom or my friend want me to be miserable for the rest of my life? Would they want me to never smile again?
I mean, unless they were a total jerk, the answer is almost always going to be no.
Right. And if the answer is no, then your misery isn't serving them, it's just hurting you. And realizing that can be the key that unlocks the cage.
The source also lists some external actions, things we can physically do. Journaling was one, but not the usual, Dear Diary, today was hard.
No, specifically journaling joyful moments. Creating a record of the times laughter bubbled up. This helps retrain your brain, its neuroplasticity in action, to notice the light, not just the dark. Because when you're grieving, your brain has a negativity bias. You have to actively hunt for the good stuff.
And rituals,
Yeah.
like Mike with the hat.
Exactly. Creating a specific time or space to reminisce about the happy stuff. Maybe you look at photos of a vacation or you watch their favorite comedy. You invite the laughter in on purpose. You literally make a date with joy.
And we can't ignore the importance of support. We talked about Lena's group.
No, we are social creatures. The article mentions support groups. Being in a room or a Zoom call with people who just get it is invaluable. You don't have to explain why you're laughing through your tears. They already know. They speak the language.
And if the guilt is really, really sticky, if you just can't shake it,
Then therapy is the right move. Specifically, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, can be very effective here. It helps you identify those automatic negative thoughts, like, I'm a bad person for smiling, and reframe them into something true and helpful. It's all about debugging your own mental software.
the article also mentions digital memorials. A life portrait was the one they mentioned.
Yes, creating a space online to preserve stories. And not just the dry obituary facts, born here, died there, but the funny stories, the clown shoe stories. Having a place where those memories can live can take the pressure off of you to hold them all in your head constantly.
It's like building a container for the joy so you don't lose it. You can put it there and visit it.
Exactly. It validates that those moments are absolutely worth keeping.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's zoom out a bit. We've gone from the biology of the brain to the pressure of society and to the practical tools. What's the synthesis here? What's the one thing we need to walk away with?
The big picture is that joy and sorrow are not enemies. They're dance partners. As the source says, they dance together in the tapestry of grief.
I like that, a tapestry. It's all woven together.
It is. If you pull out the threads of joy, the whole thing just falls apart. The fabric unravels. Laughter doesn't diminish the loss. It actually enriches the life that is left behind. It's the fuel that allows you to keep going and keep remembering.
It really is a shift in perspective. Instead of I'm moving on, it's more like I'm carrying them with me, including their happiness.
Precisely. Embracing these moments without shame is the ultimate proof of your endurance. It's proof that the love you shared was complex and real and resilient.
I want to leave our listeners with a thought that really struck me while reading all this. We talked about that Kubler-Ross quote, grief is the price we pay for love.
Yes.
But I want to pose this. If grief is the price we pay for love, perhaps joy is the receipt.
Oh, I really like that.
Think about it. It's the proof of purchase. It's the proof that the connection was real, that it was vibrant, and that it still exists. You don't get the receipt unless the transaction, the love, actually happened.
That is a beautiful way to put it. The joy is the evidence that the love actually worked.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, holding on to the guilt is what's actually blocking that connection. If you're so busy feeling bad, you might be missing the little winks from the universe or from them that are trying to make you smile.
That raises a very important question for everyone listening. How might your guilt be standing in the way of the very connection you're trying so desperately to hold on to?
Something to mull over. Thank you all for listening to this deep dive on Laughter in the Dark. It's okay to smile today. We'll see you next time.
Take care.